if commerce is more like F1, where there's twists, there's turns, you need to upshift, you need to downshift, you need to maybe something that's really critical today maybe becomes just table stakes tomorrow. And like F1, where the actual engineering matters, right? In F1, and the best experiences are where teams are able to work to harness the most powerful engineering to deliver exceptional performance. And Commerce Tools is, in my opinion, our vision is being able to help people win in the corners, right? Which is commerce shifting, changing, rapidly moving.
Welcome to the Ecommerce Toolbox, Expert Perspectives, a podcast by Noibu, where we explore the elite strategies and cutting-edge insights with our expert guests. Get ready to propel your e-commerce business to the next level.
Welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Toolbox, Expert's Perspective. Joining us today, we have Andrew Burton, the new CEO of Commerce Tools. As you folks know, Commerce Tools is the leading composable platform. So welcome, Andrew. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me, Kailin. It's great to be here.
Andrew, as most of you know, listening, you just succeeded Dirk, founder and longtime CEO of Commerce Tools. Maybe talk to us a bit about, you've had an impressive career so far, different startups, high growth environments. Maybe talk us through a little bit of that, and then tell us why you were interested in joining Commerce Tools in the first place.
Yeah, great question. So Dirk is the founder and really has built a tremendous company at Commerce Tools. And as Dirk and I got to know each other over the last couple of years, one of the things that really excited me is our focus on customer innovation, helping leading brands in the world really innovate in their commerce experiences, Kailin. So I think about the creation of Composability and our offering, if you will, is really this idea around creating an open alternative to giving people that flexibility where they can kind of build and grow and create the experiences they need to serve their customers. And so as I got to know Dirk and got to know Commerce Tools, what struck me was just this fundamentally different approach that Commerce Tools is taking compared to the alternatives. And whereas the alternatives are more black boxed, kind of closed ecosystems, and you can't see, Kailin, everything that's going on, with Commerce Tools, our fundamental philosophy is open, transparent model where customers have choice. They have freedom of choice. They have freedom of flexibility to be able to design, build, and deliver the commerce experiences they need most. And so your question, my career has largely been built, and my focus is on continuing to help customers innovate and drive their outcomes, their success, and being the business partner, not the vendor, but the business partner that helps them get there. And so I was really excited as Dirk and I started talking about working together, because we really are working together, Kailin. One of the questions I get is, how are you guys work together? And I think as Dirk's got a tremendous vision and point of view on where commerce is headed. And I think by he and I working closely together, we're going to continue to help our customers innovate. And my career and my experiences are going to help us scale the company, but really make sure we continue to be customer first and customer centered, giving them freedom of choice and freedom to innovate.
I love that. And as you start building on, obviously there's different kind of horizons for businesses, right?
Yeah.
As you cross that $100 million mark, and we don't have to talk about revenue, things change. And as you keep growing, maybe talk to us a bit about how you joining the company and working closely with Dirk, how has that actually transitioned the company's vision? And how would you really kind of paint that now as what is the vision, I guess, is kind of the ultimate question.
Yeah, that's a great question, and we're definitely north of 100 million. So I think we've disclosed some of those numbers out in the public market. So I think about stages of startups and tech companies is that first 80 to 100 roughly is, can you not just have product market fit, but can you really drive and deliver a core value proposition to a set of customers that is going to really be something that's durable and powerful? And so for us, Kailin, I think first and foremost is that core commerce is depth of giving people the ability to build and drive their commerce ecosystem, their commerce environment. And that includes really, in my mind, two key things. One is you got to make sure you have the highest level of availability, reliability, service levels, and performance. Because if you look at the brands that we support, they really require, I say milliseconds matter, right? It literally is at 2 milliseconds, it's 3 milliseconds. I mean, measuring it at that level, because speed, performance, reliability, that can't be even up for any debate. And I find many brands and many organizations are suffering in that alone. Their legacy, I talked to a customer the other day, Kailin, where their ERP system was plugged into their commerce environment, and they were having outages and downtimes in Black Friday, Cyber Monday. That's just unacceptable, right? And anybody that is experiencing not just downtime, but slow response time is that I don't know if you've ever felt that, but that is a painful experience because your customers are experiencing pain. So our core commerce proposition is that twofold things. First, reliable, performant, really highly available. And then the second is delivering core commerce value props around giving the ability for people to take products and services, make sure they can get to them quickly and easily, be able to conduct commerce transactions around them, and be able to really do that in any environment they need to. So whether it's in the browser or beyond the browser, that core commerce proposition is our first and foremost. So that's how I think about continuing to, when you think about getting to 80 to 100 million, or north of that, most companies, I think, struggle to really, are they solving a core problem? And is it something that customers value? And is it something that is going to be really durable and critical? And most of the customers I talk to tell me that core commerce proposition is mission critical. It's the core of their commerce experience, and they need a partner to really make sure that is delivering all of the value they need it to.
Obviously, Commerce Tools has been a longtime pioneer of composability as a commerce strategy. How are you folks kind of seeing and defining as composability as a strategy actually changes kind of outside of Commerce Tools per se as a product?
Yeah, I would say, if I build off my last point of, okay, if you have this core commerce proposition, many of the brands that I chat with, they think about, they have built and they've invested a ton of money in their brand and in experiences around that brand. And you think if you walk down the street, Kailin, right? If somebody walks into a store, or they go to look to buy something, usually there's a set of experiences. There's what's being conveyed, there's the look, the feel, but more importantly, how do you identify and interact with who's ever trying to. So I think about, for us, it's how do we deliver that experience online across channels and be able to help those leading brands in the world really deliver on their core brand promise and their customer engagement, and be able to have the environment that gives them the flexibility. So composability, to your question, why is composability important? Well, if you think about, it's really about composability equals flexibility, right? Equals open approach. Where I had a CTO the other day tell me, he's like, Andrew, with a composable environment, I get to choose the things that are most critical for my customer and my experiences. I can choose to build, focus, and decide, do I want to build it? Do I want to rely on a third party? Or do I want to look at Commerce Tools? And we're that core commerce platform. But he's like, but Andrew, you've given me choice. You guys give me choice, freedom to decide. If I view it as a mission critical part, a differentiating part, my team can do it. But if I want to go out to the market and say, you know what, I want best in class that meets these specific needs, composability enables that flexibility, right? And so I think many people out there wrongly associate composability with, oh, this is complex. And what I think is like, well, do you want flexibility? Because, Kailin, what do we know? Commerce is rapidly changing, right? The environment shift, buyer preferences change, multi-channel. And so many of the people say they take the false choice of, I'm just going to go with easy, but that limits them and becomes actually harder than saying, hey, composability equals, if you put Commerce Tools in as a core commerce platform, we give you the option and the flexibility to, you can take an easy route, but you could also extend it and customize and tailor to your environment without having to be constrained by having a one-size-fits-all approach. And so, Kailin, to your question, composability really comes into play because it is an open approach. It's a flexible approach. And our core thesis is commerce experiences are rapidly changing. Customers are, there's a lot of competition for the customer. And our customers tell us the reason they love Commerce Tools is we give them that flexibility to decide what do they want to really focus their efforts on.
It's an interesting point. And like I was mentioning before we started, I'm in Europe this week with some clients, and I was actually in Lisbon on Monday having lunch with a different one of your clients, and I won't name them out loud, but you know what they mentioned to me was really to build on this point. So they said, when you go down the kind of mock like commerce tools route where it's composability really as a strategy versus monolith, he said at T0, complexity is a little bit higher than something that's out of the box at T0.
Yeah.
But he mentioned as things change in commerce, it quickly, you see the monolith starts to kind of go up in complexity. And there's actually like a crossing over depending on the size of your business. Whereas the composable strategy actually stays flat or decreases in
exactly.
And I'm curious actually, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, it's great. I want to be, thoughtful, not naming specific specific customers, but I was talking to someone there I was in the UK, and, I was talking to someone who's moving to Composability. He said, Andrew, exactly your point, Kailin, of if I go with the monolith, in a monolith, whether it's a monolith or let's say, I'll just call it, whether you're Shopify or one of the legacy models, there's still closed ecosystems, right? And it's still like, can you see API, service level, level of detail and visibility and transparency? We believe in open, transparent model. So let's just call it a open model versus a kind of a black box. And it's exactly your point. So what I was talking to this customer, and he said, hey, Andrew, we initially went with this kind of, we'll just go with the black box, right? And I won't name the vendor they were with, but, he said, our problem is it didn't quite work, day 2, like you said, day 5. So they're like, well, we'll just try to extend it or tail it, but we can't actually see what's going on over there. We see a little bit. It's kind of like throwing things over a wall, right? And so what they began to do is exactly to your point, Kailin, they're like, well, we had to tailor it and extend it and customize it to get this use case. And then time goes by and somebody says, I need to open up another commerce channel. And they say, well, okay, well, now I got to tailor and customize it this way. And what happens is Frankenstein gets created. And the problem with Frankenstein is at its core, you can't see inside of Frankenstein. And so I'm no Frankensteins, right? And to your point, because people say, oh, this is easy. But what they begin to do is say, well, we need to do this. We need to do that. And most of the commerce executives and leaders I chat with are saying, the pace of my business is speeding up. I have, whether it's marketing, the CEO, the various executives saying, we need to do more faster. Velocity matters. And the dirty secret, Kailin, to your point, when you start customizing and extending things that were never really meant to be customized or extended, that becomes a sea anchor on innovation. And what we do is we allow you to innovate without the sea anchor. And I think that, to your point, composability at first glance is perceived as, well, this flexibility costs me a little bit more. And I say, well, is flexibility really an option in your environment? Are you going to get a request next week, next month to open up a new channel, more seamlessly integrate your commerce channels between each other? Are you going to have customers moving across? And usually I get, that's going to be, I'm going to have to do more faster, better, and more efficiently. And I say, well, you should really, at its core, select a partner, not a vendor, a partner who is going to be an open approach that allows you to innovate. Because I'm a big believer, Kailin, in co-creation, to your point about my career, is the best partnerships are one where you're helping customers co-create their commerce potential. And that's why composability, and that is an open approach. And that's why open is better versus closed.
It makes sense. And maybe this is a wild analogy, so let me know if you disagree with it. But I feel like e-com is similar to F1 in a sense. And I don't know if you're a big fan, because I think you win on the margins, right? When you're talking about 2 billion hits a year on a website, and you're talking about the difference between 1.3 and 1.32% conversion, like we're talking millions of dollars straight up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like F1, right? It's like, it's one in the turns, right? And hey, if I'm just going down a straight road and there's no turns, and I could just, everything is just going to be steady and constant. Okay. But I like that analogy. And you say, if commerce is more like F1, where there's twists, there's turns, you need to upshift, you need to downshift, you need to maybe something that's really critical today maybe becomes just table stakes tomorrow. And like F1, where the actual engineering matters, right? In F1, and the best experiences are where teams are able to work to harness the most powerful engineering to deliver exceptional performance. And Commerce Tools is, in my opinion, our vision is being able to help people win in the corners, right? Which is commerce shifting, changing, rapidly moving. And you know, the legacy model of a black box closed model was built on a premise that you don't really need to see what's in there. You know, I'll give you a little bit, but you can't really tailor and customize. And if you do, your car is going to slow down. And in F1, like you said, if you're coming out of those corners faster than your competition, you're going to get out there and deliver a better experience with a better brand and a better customer engagement. Because most customers I talk to say, Andrew, loyalty, engagement matters for my customers. And whether you're B2B, B2C, hybrid, DTC, whatever the case may be, they say it's commerce, and commerce needs to be embedded in world-class experiences. So anyway, you can tell I'm passionate about this, Kailin, but you know, I think it's an opportunity.
And on that kind of note, we're talking about innovation. I know you're probably very similar to me. I spend a lot of time with clients.
Yeah.
What do they always ask you about? The roadmap, right?
Yeah.
So maybe talk to us a bit about how you think about prioritizing roadmap. Like, do you think about customer feature, competitive pressure?
Yeah.
Like, how do you guys think about that as you're prioritizing the roadmap?
It's a great, when you think about roadmap, I think it's actually a proxy, Kailin, for why. Talk to me about how I should have confidence in you're the right long-term partner, right, for me, right? Because usually when someone says, hey, tell me about the roadmap, they're asking about forward-looking point of view of what are things you're going to do, and then what they're then thinking about is, hey, are you aligned with where I want to go? And that is inherently a partnership. So when I engaged in conversations, I was down in New York a couple weeks ago, meeting with a world-class brand. And, you know, the customer there, the head of their digital transformation and commerce and, team, he said to me, he goes, Andrew, we don't have peers. We're out there. We think of ourselves as a market leader. We're not trying to, we're trying to drive innovation. And so he asked, he's like, where do you think about going? Where do you think Commerce Tools is going? And I said, well, it's simple. We're thinking about co-creating the future of commerce, shaping the future of commerce. And when you look at some of the customers we work with, what you see is market leading brands that have world-class experiences that need a commerce partner. And when I think about, when I get questions or roadmap, Kailin, what I often think about is, are we aligned in how we think about the opportunity over a multi-year horizon? And then how do we work together to make sure we're balancing the needs of what is today versus where's the market going? And so I think I'll give you two quick examples. We actually were talking about this earlier. First is I hear a lot of customers say, I need to break down barriers. I need to have seamless experiences across all the different points of contact, right? And so I make sure whether it's a browser, whether it's an app, whether it's a kiosk, whether it's some other type of device or experience in store, various environments. What I'm hearing is we need to break down those silos, right? And so I think when I get asked about strategy, or I say, absolutely, we're going to help you break down silos because we believe that's an important aspect of innovating in commerce. But it's less about, are you doing this feature versus that? And it's more of, can we align on, are we going to be out there solving kind of the right problems together over a multi-year? So knocking down silos is one. The second one that I often hear is, can you help me improve my velocity? Can you help me be more responsive? And that involves taking our core commerce proposition and making it more extensible and connecting to the environments and the systems that are critical that help customers really drive. So whether it's ERP or supply chain or OMS systems, whether it's connecting to adjacent critical infrastructure or application experiences they need to deliver, one of the things that we're like, hey, as a commerce platform, when you build and deliver your commerce experiences on Commerce Tools, making it more easily plug and playable so that people don't have to build, as we were talking about earlier, these custom tailored integrations or try to extend it. We say, no, we're going to inherently empower you to focus on your value to your customer, not in the plumbing. And so I think of, at its core, can we deliver core commerce and continue to innovate in the core commerce proposition? Absolutely. can we lower barriers and provide commerce without limits? That's our second. And then the third is, can we make it easily and more extensible for you to embed that wherever you need to embed it? And so when I get roadmap questions, I say, are we aligned on those three areas? Because if we are, then we can co-create the future. And sometimes someone says, well, what if I want you to, I say, well, hey, the hardest part also is saying, well, that's not us. If you need something in your, let's say your marketing automation stack, I'm going to be extreme. Well, that's great, but you should go work with someone who really is committed to solving that problem. We're focused on commerce and we're focusing on those three areas.
Oh, I love it. And just actually a follow-up on that, obviously Composable offers flexibility. In some cases, you hear businesses that might be afraid that it's overwhelming. Maybe it's kind of what we chatted about before. Maybe it's too complex, or they think it's too complex out of the gate. Like, how do you help companies understand if it's the right strategy for them? Yeah. And do you think it's like it's a bit like the boogeyman, where you think it's there, but it might not actually be? Like, curious how you think about that.
Yeah. It's interesting. There's definitely, I think, some folks out that are kind of trying to convey like, oh, that's really complex. And I often just keep it simple. I'm like, one, is your take customer, and let's say you're a reasonably sized customer. You've got 100 million plus of commerce business going through. It's you're not just an entrepreneur trying to get you just need like a really simple thing, right? This is one where you're driving commerce as a core proposition for your business, right? In that environment, I generally start with very simple. I say, is it important? Is your commerce experience important to you? Yeah. Is it changing? Do you think it's going to change or evolve over the next 12, 18, 24, 36 months? And usually I get we got lots of things we need to do. I say, great. So you need something. So at this core, it's important and it's something that's changing. Great. The beautiful part of Composable and the Commerce Tools approach is you can start with a very simple use case. You could start with a very specific problem. So sometimes customers say, hey, I need to open up a new channel. Great. The power of Composability is that it's simpler and easier because you can choose where to apply it. You don't have to take the big bite. You don't have to take the entire platform or the entire monolithic approach. You can say, look, where would you like to start? Now, some customers tell me like, oh, we had Frankenstein. We talked earlier, we have a Frankenstein and we need to kill Frankenstein. And I say, okay, great. But even in that model, I say, well, let's focus on what is the core commerce value that you're trying to deliver, and we can focus on that. And I find, we have examples where customers are going live in weeks and months because they're able to say, I need this specific thing enabled in this environment, and then I'm going to then build out and drive across either different channels, different experiences. So I do think, yes, you can definitely jump into commerce tools and reimagine your entire commerce environment. Some customers do that. But I think increasingly customers say, hey, I have a specific need. I have a specific region. So multi-region, a global price book, an ability to go cross brands, right? Usually we look at specific use cases and say, let's light up that use case and let's get value. And then we can expand and drive. And I find that many of the customers, when they get that first use case, they see the power of flexibility, the power of choice, and they see, better customer engagement. They see better, higher cart values. They see better conversion rates. And then they say, I want more. We say, great. Where do you want to go next? Versus take the whole thing and you got to be all in and locked in. I don't believe in vendor lock-in, and I don't believe in limiting choice. I believe in open, flexible, and freedom to innovate. And that's really why I think Composability is the easier approach, because as you said, if you take the false choice of, just give me a one size fits all, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get one size that can't be tailored, and you're going to make compromises, and compromises lead to poor performance, and they lead to high cost and high complexity. So I actually think it's a false choice. Now, we got to do a better job of conveying that. We're working with our partners and some of the ecosystem around us to really focus on pre-composed solutions to make it even easier. So what could take months, lower that down to weeks or days.
No, I love it. And I think it's the old how to eat an elephant one bite at a time. And I know that we have some clients that are doing what you just flagged, right? They're moving off of like an ATG And that thing is so like, it's like cemented into the walls at this point. So they start with the cart and then they do the PDP and then they kind of go piece by piece. So no, it's cool to hear that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, by the way. I won't name the large commerce SMB kind of player, but even they recently said, the benefit of composability is you get to pick what you start with, and so we see people trying to imitate and be like, look, we can do that too, but even in their own words, they're like, oh no, this and actually, if you look at the last earnings calls, for example, you'll see open validation of the composable approach. Like, oh yeah, it's easier actually because you can just start with this piece. And we're like, yeah, that's what we're doing. The benefit you have with us is it's in our core DNA. We're not just a thin veneer. We're a deep, flexible, open platform.
I love it. And Andrew, this will wrap it up, but I really appreciate you hopping on. This is a phenomenal, love to hear your vision. And I'm really, really excited to see where Commerce Tools keeps going and innovating. Thanks so much.
Same here, Kailin. Thanks for having me today.
Awesome.
The Ecommerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives is brought to you by Noibu. To find out more about Noibu and how we can help you debug your e-commerce site and rocket your revenue, visit www.noibu.com. That's noibu.com. And then make sure to search for the Ecommerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Noibu, thanks for listening.